ones because it is real. And today I have Munif Saza with us, who, if you're in Subto, drop some fire. I think that you guys know who this dude is, but if you could drop some fire for him, that would be very nice.
Effie, are we live right now? Because it's showing
We,
on YouTube that we're not live.
it shows we're not live. We're
Yeah,
live.
it's reading. So
I
is it
think
saying we're live? Oh, we are live. Okay, guys,
we
if
are
you're
live.
that's awesome. Okay, so something's going on my phone.
That's
Um,
okay. That's okay. But I say thank you to Angela. I thank you to Kurt, Thomas, everyone, David. Good to see you guys here. And as I said, Munif Saza is here because although we all think he is a little subto mini god, which he is, I
I wouldn't
know.
go that far.
Yeah, well, mini. Okay, I'm going with mini. Next month it'll be a full guide, but I brought him on so that we can learn from him specifically about his journey and how he had to persevere, and when he finally felt he succeeded, and what were his what the effing moments. So please welcome him and drop some fire, guys. You know what to do. All right,
Awesome.
Munif, thank you.
Um, I want to say something before we get started. You have the coolest intro I've ever seen. That was awesome. I was like, yo, it's everyone. I was like, I know that person. I know that person. That's me. It was really cool. I love the intro. Did Grant make it for you?
Graham, yes, Graham did make it. Graham's my son. But I take credit for the ideas.
That's great.
And I'm going to tell you that in the social media accountability group, they kind of poo pooed it. They're like, no, you can't do that. It's too long.
Oh, I loved it.
I
I was
know
like,
everybody has been saying it's great. So I'm
it's
glad
so
that it
good.
got
I
that
mean,
way.
I'll tell you why I liked it. I mean, it is kind of long. It's a minute, but I'll tell you why I really liked it is because I know a lot of the people, and I know you, and I could see your adventures. So for me, I was like, oh, like what photo is she going to use next? And then I saw my photo, and I got really excited. So I don't know, I really like it. I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, this show is dedicated to you. And I would like to understand a little bit about you.
Sure.
And I think that we may have, do we have a little presentation that we're going to, a little photograph?
Presentation?
No,
Cool.
not
Wow, you really
presentation
prepared.
necessarily.
Oh, that's my mom, and that's me.
Yeah. Who is this cute little guy
Oh my gosh.
and that beautiful mommy?
Oh
So tell
man.
us a little bit about that baby Munif.
That was me in Bangladesh. I was born in Bangladesh in '92, May, and yeah, I mean that was like I was probably like a year old, maybe give or take a couple months.
Wow.
And yeah, those are like the the tropical trees in the background of Bangladesh, and yeah, that's like my mom. I see how much my mom looks like my sister, and it just amazes me. My sister is her age now, so my mom was, I think, 20 in this photo. My sister's 20, and they're like identical twins.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And how old were you when you came to America? I mean, was this little guy, we can
I
put it
was
down here,
I was a
was
year
you
old. So
still
this
in Bangladesh at that time, or were
I
you
was,
here?
so here I was actually in Canada. So I actually I'm a Canadian. Um,
Get out!
Winnipeg.
Get out!
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
What the
I'm
heck?
American
Why aren't you in the Sub 2 Canucks group?
too. I'm in like I do most of my deals in Texas. So
Wow, I didn't realize that you're a Canadian. That's pretty cool.
yeah, I still have my Canadian citizenship. I'm American. I identify as American, but I still have love for my maple tree loving country, Canada. And yeah, I got we moved to Canada when I was about 14 months. I spent about 4 years there, I would say. And yeah, long enough to become citizens. And then my dad got an opportunity to be a student in a master's class for architecture in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh,
I think he went to the University of Maryland. they gave him like a scholarship, and they were like, hey, we'll give you a student visa. We need more architects in this country. And so they took him in. And so he was like, hey, this is an opportunity to move to the, the greatest country on the planet, with Canada being a very close second.
Hey, listen, I'm in the very same boat, right? We're
Yeah.
both dual citizens, and I do identify as American, even though I grew up in Canada. So I get that. I get that.
So yeah, we moved to Baltimore, Maryland. I spent some time there, and then Northern Virginia moved there when I was maybe like 8 or 9, and the rest is history. I spent the rest of my young adult life in Northern Virginia, and then I went to university in Richmond, Virginia, where Tanisha lives, Richmond, Virginia, and moved to Arizona for a little bit, got married, and moved back to Virginia.
I'm trying to do what I can't do. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. Here's where we can really see you, Munif.
Oh man, that's when I had hair. That's when I look totally different now.
No, your face looks exactly the same. Those eyes, your teeth, your nose, everything. I mean, sure, you don't have the mustache and the beard, and okay, the hair migrated a bit, but yeah. So where were you in this picture?
Oh, this was my high school senior photo. So,
nice.
Yeah,
So you were in Virginia then?
I was in Virginia. I was, I think it was a senior. It was 2010. So I became a senior in 2010.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a photo. And it's funny because it's like that, they have these photos. That tuxedo is not a real tuxedo. They put it on you. It's not really like an actual full. I don't even think it comes to I don't even think it has arms. It's just like a prop.
Oh, that's hysterical. That is hysterical. Well, guys, if you think that looks like Munif today, drop a me in there. Say, I think he looks like what he looks like today.
My wife will tell you I don't look like that.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
She says I have a very, I have what's called face plasticity. My face changes I look very different. I even look different than I did 2 years ago. If you look at Zooms of me 2 years ago. So there's a lot of people who agree with her. Then there's people like you. You and my mom think my face does not change.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck in the middle. I don't know. I just look like whatever I look like.
I hear you. Well, of course, we know who this is.
Oh, that's my wife. That's love.
She is so beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
So yeah. And I think that this is where Pace is starting to take credit for the future generations of the world, because very often he says, okay, we have people who are meeting, who are getting married, and now love is expecting. So I think he feels like a proud daddy.
Oh, he's definitely matchmaker. I give him credit for being matchmaker here. So Pace is many things, and matchmaker is one of them.
That's interesting. That is interesting. How did you guys meet?
So, interesting story. We met at Luciano's house. I was staying with him because Pace invited me to the premiere for his TV show for the first season when he launched it. So I flew out there. I needed somewhere to stay. Luciano had a place, so he said, you can stay with me, no problem. And then Luciano and I decided to throw a Subto meetup at his house. And Love attended that meetup, and that's how.
Oh, lucky for you.
Oh, I got super lucky. And not only that, Love was actually not going to go, and she was going to kind of ditch it. And then her friend Renee called her as her accountability buddy and said, hey, I know you want to go to more meetups. Am I going to see you there tonight? And she said, no. And Renee said, no, definitely. Come on. Don't worry. It'll be fine. It'll be great. You're going to meet great people. And Love went, okay, fine. I'll come. And she did, and that's where we met.
Pretty cool. Now, I am interested in knowing a little bit about what I call Munif land. What are the two kinds of people? As you see people, what kind of people are there? I've heard you think there are two kinds of people.
Is that a question Abraham asked you to ask me?
I've heard from a couple of people that Munif says there's two kinds of people. I said, okay, I'll find out what he's talking about. What are the two kinds of people?
There's two kinds of people. There are people that they wait for permission to do things and wait to make sure everything's okay before they go do things. And then there's a second kind of person that goes and does things until they're stopped.
Until they're stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Which type are you, and why?
I'm the second type because you make more money being the second type, right? So I mean, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not asking anyone to break the laws.
Oh, I just lost the bet. Because I thought I would be able to put this banner up before you said it.
I'm not a lawyer.
No, you said it. I'm not a lawyer.
If Abraham, like, where is Abraham? Because I feel him in this room right now.
And it's funny because lawyer and attorney, right? They're Canadian and English. Obviously, I got the wrong one. But so you're not a lawyer.
I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. And so I'm not asking anybody or encouraging anybody to break any laws or having, anything like that. I would never do that. I would never imply that. However, let's just say my HOA may or may not allow Airbnbs. I'm going to go have an Airbnb until I'm stopped, and then I'll maybe stop, and I'll push the envelope a lot in my business and in my life. And if people stop me, they stop me, and I know where the boundaries are. And I did that growing up as a kid. I would just test boundaries. I have memories of me testing boundaries with my parents. I would do things just to see what would happen for no other reason. And I still do that on some level. Kirk says, I hear that you need to call Abraham back. Actually, Kirk, I called Abraham today. He didn't call me. I called him actually twice today. So he needs to call me back.
That is funny. That is funny. So I'd like to get into a little bit about how you ended up being where you are.
Sure.
But specifically, the challenges that you had to overcome to get here.
So which ones? Because there's a lot. There's challenges. There's challenges that I overcame throughout my upbringing, throughout my life, that I've solved those and they're gone. They're gone. I don't even think about them. They've solved, mental challenges, and then there's also different financial challenges, environmental challenges. There's all kinds of challenges, relationship challenges. So there's stuff that's gone and solved, and then there's ones that keep coming back with new faces. It's the same thing.
So give us some examples of what you're speaking of.
So if you want to hear of a challenge that I've solved challenges regarding my self-esteem. So I had a lot of self-esteem challenges growing up. And so I've contended with that for that's been something I've been contending with when I was a kid. And then it probably took 25 years of my life, probably around 25 years. I solved that where I was okay. I was okay, well, wait a minute.
What was the problem with, your self-image? I mean, you're a good-looking guy.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. So I am, I'm Bengali. So they don't make us very tall and strong and sturdy there. We're made to just jump off of fishing boats onto others. So I'm pretty average height, Bengali guy. If you actually go there, we're very emaciated looking people. We're brown and emaciated and 5 foot. And so you come here, I don't know what they put in the water here. But,
growth hormones.
Yeah, we've got a lot of growth hormones. But it's in American, I think the average American is 5'10" is average. And if you're slightly tall, you're 6 feet, 6'3". So growing up, I was the shortest boy in my class, always. And that kids will find anything to tease you with. And so I was teased a lot. However, after it took me a while of growing up, when I grew up, I realized it didn't matter what I looked like because I would have gotten teased no matter what. I see perfectly normal people, normal height or weight or face, just people, like, I'm like, what would you tease this person about? And there's always something that they find, whether it's like a name. Your name could be Butt, and you're just, it's done. Your last name's Butt, and you're done. And it took me a while to figure that out, that it wasn't like me. It was just like, you're just teased. That's just part of life as a kid. But that was something that I had to like really contend with, because my natural demeanor is very light and fun, and I like to just joke around and have fun. But in college and high school, I overcompensated for that. So I thought that to have self-esteem, you needed to be confident, and if to be confident, you needed to actually be very assertive with how you speak, how you carry yourself. I started weightlifting for like reasons to like be very muscular, and I had an attitude of, oh, like I'm the best. I'm like the hottest, I'm the hottest guy ever, and my poop doesn't stink, right? So like that was my attitude, and it took me about like up to 25 when I was like, wait a minute, like there's more to life than this, and that's not who I am. And true self-esteem is humility. That's what I believe. So there's like, I think that like, it's not that I'm above anybody or anybody's below me, or I'm below anybody or anybody's above or below anybody else in dignity and respect. I think that true self-esteem is realizing that everybody has the same dignity. Everybody should be worthy of respect, and it's all the same across the board. Nobody's better than anybody else. And when I figured that out, I almost reverted back to like my true personality, which is fun-loving, and like I don't have like, I used to be very angry. I used to have a lot I was holding on to, and like all that's gone. So that's something that's been solved.
What made you realize that?
I read a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it's just a book that like just makes you take a step back and breathe, and then you realize you have a lot of stuff going on here. You have a lot of stuff going on here, just a lot of anxiety and tension. And then I started separating myself from that and going, wait, where is this coming from? Like, why am I so upset? Somebody like looked at me a certain way or made a joke about me. I'm so upset at this person. Why am I so angry? And why do I hate this person? And is that really me hating them, or is do I hate myself, and am I projecting on another person? So that was a really good book. Yeah, David says a great book. So that really helped.
Yep. So talk a little bit more about the journey from, you said you were in college. What were you studying, and how did you get to where you are now?
So I was studying biomedical engineering. I graduated. Yeah, biomedical engineering. I graduated in 2014. I did decent in college. I graduated with honors, and I had some minor degrees. I think I minored in math and chemistry. So I always liked sciences. I've always done STEM growing up, and my path that I was going to take was of medicine, and I was going to be a doctor. That's what I wanted to do. But I shadowed a doctor. I shadowed my aunt. She's a doctor. I shadowed her for 3 months while I was in Canada. So she's in Canada right now.
Is she in Winnipeg?
She's in Winnipeg. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do it. They are, it's insane. They're basically, they're like white collar. They're like white collar, like laborers is how I think about it. Like they're constantly working. I mean, on their feet. I mean, their shifts. I mean, my aunt would work 12-hour days, and then weekends she'd do surgery. It was insane. And I'm like, she must be rich. She must be rich. She must be rich. And it's like, she has a nice house, but she's not rich. Like there's a lot of like, they have a lot of malpractice insurance they pay. They have a lot of expenses to upkeep that as a salaried employee. They pay a lot of taxes. Mm-hmm. Like they don't actually get to keep tons and tons and tons of buku dollars. And when I realized that, I was like, wait a minute, you're working all that, but you're not getting, like, I know people that don't work all day and they can choose whether or not to work, and they have millions of dollars. And I thought doctors were all millionaires, and that's not the case. They don't have millions of dollars in the savings accounts. So that was an eye opener for me. And I realized that I didn't want to be a doctor. Oh, what's up, Chai?
Thank you for visiting us, Chai. It's good to see you here. So then when you realize that doctors work too hard and they don't make enough money, what did you do with your your engineering, biomedical engineering degree? What'd you do?
I did not know what to do with it. So I got a job as a cybersecurity engineer. I knew
Totally related.
Totally, because I'll tell you why. I was like, I'll just get a job as a biomedical engineer because I know I don't want to do 4 more years of med school. Like I know I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out what I want to do. But this is what happened. While I was figuring out what I was going to do, I was living in my parents' basement, no job. I was like super depressed. I was like, I don't know what I want to do in life. And, I wasn't being productive. I wasn't going and like doing things. And I felt like a bum. Like I remember there was a moment where I was like, one of my friends was graduating college. I was living at home with my mom and dad. I had no income. I had a car that I bought, like my dad actually bought for me. I didn't even buy this car. My dad bought it for me in high school for like $2,000. It was a piece of crap. And I maintained it. I worked in college and I kept it up. And I needed gas money to drive to Richmond, Virginia. So I asked my dad for $20 for gas money. And I calculated if I spent $10, I'd have enough gas to go to Richmond and back. And I could spend $10 there for like a dinner. So I remember going to see my friend graduate. And then we went to a dinner afterwards. And I was like, I knew I had the $10. So I'm like, I can buy something for like $6 or $7 and leave like a $3 tip, like with tax and everything, and I'll be all right. And I knew what to get on the menu. It was like cheese sticks. So I was like, okay, perfect. And then they all were gonna buy a round of drinks. Ooh. I was like, they were like passing the thing. I was like, oh no, I'm good. And this total stranger next to me, I don't know this guy. He graduated with my friend. He's like, you don't want to drink? I was like, nah, I'm good. He's like, get a drink, dude. We're all celebrating. Like we graduated, get a drink. Why don't you want a drink? And I think I normally would have lied and said, I'm not, I don't want to drink right now, or I made something up. But I remember telling him the truth.
Wow.
And I don't know why I told him the truth. I told him the truth. I told him I can't afford it. And it was just like hard to admit that. And he was so nice. He was like, oh no, I don't. Oh, got you. I'll get you on the drink. And he bought my drink. And it was like, I remember this drink. It was the nicest, tastiest drink I've ever had. It was so delicious. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be him. I want to be that guy that's like, I'll buy you your drink. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I was like, I want to be that guy. So I went back home and I talked to my dad. I'm like, Dad, look, I'm like a bum. I'm not making any money. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to make money. Like, I want to make money. I don't know what I want to do in life, but I know I want to make money. So he's like, well, let's look at jobs for biomedical engineers. Looked at biomedical engineers jobs. They overwork you, underpay you. They paid you like $30,000 a year for like 12-hour work. Like it was crazy. So I was like, okay, I'll do this as a backup. Like what else? What makes money? My dad said, IT, technology. You're really good with computers. You've been using computers your whole life. You could probably use your engineering degree to get an IT job. So I was like, tell me more about this IT stuff. And he's like, well, I have a few friends that teach IT. I'm sure they can give you some course recommendations and you can get certified as an IT analyst. And I spent 6 months. I got 4 different certifications in about 6 months. And I got a job in Washington, D.C. as a full-time cybersecurity consultant. And they were going to pay me, at the time they were paying me 6 figures.
Wow.
First
Without
job.
any previous experience.
No, I had certifications. So I had,
cool.
certifications.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Now you could buy people a few drinks.
Now I can buy people drinks. Yes.
Wow. Well, that must have been challenging. I know, having worked at the university with master's and PhD students, I know that a lot of times they end up thinking, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to be doing this. And they put so much money and time in it. I've heard that before. It can be
Fortunately, I got it. I had a STEM degree, so that helped, right? Because I was able to say, hey, look, I did School of Engineering. And they were like, I had to be a little creative with even my resume because I didn't put biomedical engineer. I put School of Engineering alumni. So then, you know, I had to have security certs, right? So they're like, okay, like he's fine, he's legit, right? And then they're like, oh, like no one asked me, what did you get your degree in? They just saw School of Engineering, which is not a lie. It's just not 100% the full truth. Buy me an orange juice. So yeah, I feel like I bought Edgar dinner. We went out for Indian and mango lassis, which was really nice. So
nice,
that was really
very
good.
nice. Well,
So
Edgar's not shy about asking for a drink too. So there you go. So how did you go from cybersecurity, and why did you even think of leaving it to get into Morby land?
So I was making decent money in cybersecurity, but then I think like I was working for like a year. Or I got my job in 2016. I bought my first piece of real estate in 2018. It was just my primary. It was a condo. And yeah, I was working for 2 years, and like, because I had a lot of expenses, and I had first 2 years I was working, I bought all my friends food, drinks. It was always on me. I was so happy to just spend my money on my friends. And then, you know, so I got that out of my system pretty quickly. And some would say I still have that in my system a lot. Like my wife would say, honey, like we're at dinner, you don't have to take the whole tab every time. I'm like, no, my wife, it makes me happy.
Well, yeah, now you better listen to her. You've got a baby on the way.
Of course. So, but I remember 2018, like I wanted to buy a condo. I didn't like paying rent. I was like, let me build somewhat. Like I heard, you know, smart people tell me to buy something, to own it and have your own place, and you build equity and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So I remember buying a condo and closing on it. And like, I needed like $7,500 for closing costs because I bought it on an FHA loan. And so I remember just like buying it and just being completely wiped out. Like I had no savings, I had no money. And it's like, man, I'm like, I make all this money. Like, where does it go? Like, okay, I have like, I'm spending a bunch of money on rent every month, but then I'm eating out every day. I'm every weekend, I'm like partying with my friends, and I'm like covering the bill. I'm like saving some money, but like, it's more like $500 like a month, you know? So it's taking forever to like, you know, just save up money. I'm like, what's going on? And, you know, I'm paying taxes and stuff. Like DC tax rates like really high. So I was like, what's going on? And I'm like, is this life? Like I remember thinking like, how do people make like millions of dollars? Like, is this life? And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I was like, how do I get rich? And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and read the book, changed my life. I was like, I gotta get businesses. I gotta invest in real estate. And I took a course, like a mentorship.
Okay.
And I spent like about $60,000 combined.
Holy camoli, $60,000! I don't know how many of our audience have spent $60,000 on a mentorship.
Yeah,
but
well, it was 40,000. 40,000
really?
for the mentorship, and then
Okay.
20 for marketing. They wanted you to spend money on marketing and stuff.
Oh,
And it was about 60 grand, and it was good because I took action, but I didn't recoup a penny from the 2 years I was involved, doing that stuff.
and was the mentorship for real estate, or what was it?
It was real estate.
Oh, who the heck charges that much?
They're called Legacy Elite Education.
Oh, yes, I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So they charge.
As soon as I hear elite, I think expensive.
That's that. So they charged me all that money, and I'm thankful because, if I didn't spend that much money, I would have quit earlier. I would have been like, this isn't for me. If I only did like 5,000 or 2,000 or $500, I didn't see results. I think it would have been fine, but I was so deep into debt because that property I bought, I had like a little bit of equity in 2020. By the time it was like 2020, I was able to like put everything on credit cards, and then I refinanced all my credit cards with my home equity line of credit. And yeah, I was in so much debt. I was like, I need to make this work. I need to figure out how to make money. So it forced me to become resourceful and keep trying. And then I found out about Morby's mentorship, and what Pace teaches is very different. He teaches, hey, just get really good at sales and sourcing these deals and you'll make money. And I was like, okay, I'll try that. And first deal I ever did is in Subto, and I JV'd with somebody else, and I made my first $4,000, and the rest is
That's important. Proof of concept.
proof of concept.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you didn't make any money in the $60,000 mentorship, but you did in PACEs.
Yes, and it was a fraction of the cost.
Of course, of course.
Yes.
So you are known as, the acquisition king, so to speak. Talk to us about where you're at now and what kind of problems you're facing now.
So it's funny because I would not have considered myself acquisition king, and I still really don't. I think I'm decent at it. I think it's one of my superpowers, but I think there's something I have a really big talent in, and I can talk about that. And acquisitions just is like a subset of that. And so the people who are really talented in acquisitions, to name a few, like Kevin Cho, Alejandro Alvarez, Jabs Carter, and then my competitor RJ Bates. Like these guys are like monsters at acquisitions, and I've been able to create a brand and a name for myself in acquisitions, but it's really I really don't think I'm like the best salesperson or the best acquisitions manager or closer in particular. I can talk a little bit about what I think I'm really good at.
Yeah, do, because obviously it leads to doing well in acquisitions, and I'm curious about why you see it as a subset.
Yeah, for sure. When I first started, when I was doing the other thing before I joined Subto, I thought that I would take my engineering brain and bring it here and engineer myself into buying real estate. And what I realized was I'm not having enough sales calls. I'm actually not. I've only talked to 10 sellers. In those 2 years, I only talked to 10 sellers. When I joined Subto, I realized that you have to talk to a ton of sellers. You should be talking to 10 sellers a day. And you've got to put volume in. And, I did the daily dial, and I trained. And the reason I say I'm not necessarily, an acquisitions guy or the best acquisitions person, my talent isn't there. It's not in necessarily sales or being a really good salesperson. And there are people who are, I think, better than me. I think my talent comes into relationships. I think my biggest skill set is I'm really good at creating relationships and nurturing relationships and feeding relationships. And that is where my biggest strength is, my biggest skill set is. And acquisitions is, okay, you are very good at it, at connecting with people skillfully, structuring, closing on deals. Thank you, Gigi. So, acquisitions is a part of it because I've been able to create relationships with sellers, but as a specific niche in the industry, it's like, there are people better than me at it. Like, better closers, better people who follow up better than me. Like a good acquisitions person is really, really good at follow up. Like they're solid at follow up. And that's one of my weaknesses. So I wouldn't say I'm like the best acquisitions or even like wear a crown for like acquisitions king. I would say that my number one talent that I've been able to foster has been relationship building, and that trickles down to many avenues for me.
I would have to agree. Having been in Subto for almost 1 year now, I have to agree that I think personally, for me, I think the most important thing is relationships also. Because it's about the who and the connection you have with that person. So, yeah, if those of you who are in our audience and feel that, Subto, we have to have relationships going, or that you believe in that, drop a 1 in there. I think that's what Pace would say, a 1.
I'll put a 1 in myself.
You put a 1 in yourself? Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, you absolutely. And it's interesting because I want to talk a little bit about your relationships with Chai and the two brothers. No, not two brothers.
They're not brothers.
Not. I know they're not. Bros.
Hey, Effie. All just because they're brown doesn't mean they're all related.
I know that. I'm just nervous. But I would like to talk about your relationship with that. But before we get to that, and that'll be in 1 minute, I'd like you to tell our audience, for any of those who don't know, like what happened when you went on Daily Dial. I hear like that is an epic moment in the Daily Dial vault. And I haven't seen it myself, but could you tell us what happened when you first went on there?
Oh my gosh. I remember so I remember when I joined Subto, my natural demeanor is very shy and reserved. And then once I really know somebody, I open up a little bit more. And I've had to work, like I had to build the skills to be able to communicate effectively without necessarily feeling comfortable to. So like if you put me in a party and you're like, if you're left to your own devices, I'll just kind of hang back and get to know a few people maybe, and then maybe on the second or third party where I know everybody, I'll open up more. Whereas I know people, they're super extroverted people that are like, they're, boom, like minute one. And so I am very shy and very reserved. And I was very nervous to raise my hand and participate in the role play we do in the Daily Dials. And that's a role play. It's a live role play training
Right.
in the Subto group where buyers and sellers are role playing to negotiate a transaction. And I remember like dialing into the Daily Dial and listening and not raising my hand for a week. And then a week turned into a month.
Oh,
And
dear.
after a month of it, I was like, man, I put more money into this mentorship. And I'm so far behind in debt on the other stuff. And now I'm putting more money into this thing. Like I need to take action. So you know what? I'm going to make a commitment to myself. I'm going to raise my hand every single day in this Daily Dial until they ask me to be a teacher in the Daily Dial.
Wow.
That was my
But
commitment.
never having raised your hand, that's a huge
Yeah,
goal.
I was like, whatever. I'm not going to give up. Like, if I don't do that, I'm just going to quit real estate. I'm going to quit real estate 100%.
Oh, dear.
So I raised my hand every day going forward. The first day I get on there, I was so nervous. My hands were shaking. My legs were shaking. I'm there. I'm on Zoom. I'm like, hi, guys. Hi, everybody. It's my first day. I'm so nervous. They're like, no problem. You're a buyer. George is going to be your seller. And then just start the call, ring, ring. And I go, okay, ring, ring. He goes, hello. I go, hi, George. I'm Munif. Do you want to sell me your house? And he goes, not interested. I go, thank you. I just hang up the phone. I just like hang up. You're supposed to like.
I know you're supposed to stay on there.
You're supposed to be like, oh,
build
like
the relationship.
sure, like what's going on? Like, did you want to sell it? Did something change? And it's something that like he's role playing. So like if I asked him a question, he would have been like, well, I just get a lot of calls, so I just wasn't in the mood. But you know what? Like,
he would have said something you could react to.
There's something he was gonna give me, but I was like, oh, cool, no problem, bye. And then I just hung up. I was like, how did I do? I was so nervous. I was so scared. And they're like, Munif, like good energy, good enthusiasm, but you can't hang up the phone on them. Like you got to actually try. And I just kept at it. I showed up every morning.
That's funny.
So
how long did it take you before they said we want you up here teaching?
About like 6-7 months.
Wow, that's perseverance. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, it can be a little tricky to get yourself across that mindset and put yourself out there. That for sure. Could you talk to us about your relationship with Chai and Prakash? How did you meet them? Because those guys have so much value that they're bringing, and you're elevating them and you're helping us know them. So it's kind of like you're helping. One hand washes the other. You're helping each other a lot.
In my opinion, they've helped me more than I've helped them. In my opinion, because they've had an established business, like their business. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know Chai Prakash, I mean, they're really, before they started helping out on the weekends and giving back to the community in the big way they are right now, their business is a multi-million dollar business. I mean, they're flipping houses, making millions of dollars a year. they made $1 million in a single transaction in an assignment. One piece of property, they assigned it for $1 million.
That blew my mind.
That they've made so much money, and they were just, they were behind the scenes. They're like, oh, people don't know us. We're behind the scenes. We're like, we're like killing it behind the scenes, and it was like, that was like the attitude. They didn't say it like that. It was just like they took pride in doing really well and not being public facing. And I remember the way I met them was, and they've taught me so much, because it's just working with them, I've just gotten so much exposure to so many deals. I'm like, oh, okay, this is how business is done. I remember when I first met them, it was my first deal ever that I was closing on and keeping, because Pace challenged me. There's really a lot of these come back to Pace.
Yeah, don't they?
Pace challenged me to buy my first Airbnb by the end of the year.
And when was this?
This was in November of 2021.
Wow.
So I had like a month or 2 months to, beginning of November. So I had 2 months to find a deal to keep it. And so I partnered with Noah Hoffman on that deal. We closed on it by like December 28th. So I was able to challenge. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. But that deal, it needed work, and it was in Houston, and I didn't know anybody who could actually come and do the work. And so no one knew about Chai. And so Noah's like, this awesome guy, his name's Chai. I know about him. He's awesome. He does a lot of fix and flips. He might be able to help us. So I remember getting on the phone with Chai, and Chai's like, no problem, I'll help you. And he and his team just came in. They renovated everything we needed them to renovate. I don't think they made any money off of this, because it was so cheap. They did it at cost. And I remember that. I remember like, okay, I know who Chai is. He's awesome. And then since then, if there's any deal,
you met him?
I didn't meet him. It was just
so Chai did all of this at cost simply for being in Subto.
Yeah, he's like, I hear you're in Subto. He and Prakash have always been go-givers. They just haven't been like on Zooms like promoting themselves, Mm-hmm. And so there was Edgar. Yeah, Edgar is one of our partners. Edgar is awesome. Love Edgar, and he's awesome. I could talk about him for like a whole day. He actually stayed with me in Love in Arizona, and yeah, he's. If you guys don't know who Edgar is, you guys got to look him up and go meet him, and he's great. So I talked to Chai and Prakash for a few times. Like since then, we like oh, Houston, like, hey, what do you guys think about this deal? And so I met Prakash, and I figured out who he was pretty quickly. And then, we looked at a few deals together. Nothing really worked out. And we just tried a different kind of like, hey, what do you think about this deal? Maybe we can do something together. Oh, nothing happened. And, recently, maybe like last year, wintertime, by then I had met them a few times. Like I'd gone to Houston, met them, like, you guys are awesome. And I think I was like, there was a meetup or something I'd meet them at, and they're like, we want to do stuff with you, man. We want to work with you. This is what we're doing. And, what can we do? And I'm like, let's do stuff together, but you need to build your brand. It's so important to build your brand. And Effie, look at you. You're building your brand. You've got really good, like really clean setup. What the Effie, got a great name. You got a great intro. You've got great color scheme. It's awesome. Like, you're doing such a good job building your brand. And they were like,
son.
What? Oh, Graham's awesome.
Yeah, Graham. Yay, Graham.
He's awesome.
Everybody throw a little love in the chat for Graham.
Oh yeah, Graham. I'm gonna write. Graham is awesome in the chat. Yeah.
Honestly, if it weren't for his skills, I don't think I would have had the nerve. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm pulling up some of the banners and things like that, and I'm reading the chat this time. But honestly, he really, really helped me a lot. So I wouldn't have done it without him. But I understand what you're saying about brand, because Pace keeps on me. He won't let go. I'm like, oh boy.
And
same with Abraham.
Oh yeah, he made that. Graham made that. That's awesome. I love that post.
Yep. That one brought us a few likes, I think.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that I'm gonna frame that. I should frame that and put that like in my office.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh.
And so I told them, and they're like, well, we don't really need a brand. We make so much money in our business. I was like, no, you got it all wrong. Like, first of all, everybody needs to know who you are. You guys are so knowledgeable. You're making so much money. You guys have so much experience. You're in Subto. You guys are go-givers. Like, you fit the culture. Like, everyone needs to know who you are. So I'm going to tell everybody, I'm going to go on the highest mountain and scream Chai and Prakash from the hilltops at the loudest I can scream. They're like, okay, but really, like, even if people know who we are and we're doing, like, we're happy to help, I just don't see the benefit. And, like, because they have a business and brand building, like right here, if you're here right now on this podcast, which is awesome, that's cool. But that means you're not on the phone talking to a seller, or you're not on the phone, or you're not managing your business. And so we were at the Golden Ticket event, and I invited them to come out, and Pace invited them to come out. And at this time, I think Chai, Prakash, and I were doing a podcast similar to this on my platform because I wanted people to know who they were. And they had agreed. They're like, we'll do like 1 hour a week, like no more than that. We're like, fine, that's fine. And then, we're at the Golden Ticket event, and then people know who I am, and people don't know who they are. And wholesalers are coming up to me with their deals. And they're like, would you want to buy this? Can you help me? And they're like, oh my God, like, we have to go find wholesalers, and we have to show them credibility. Like, we have to show them our receipts that we're legit and prove to them that we're real buyers. And people just walk up to Munif and bring them deals. Like, okay, tell me more about this brand stuff. So that's when they really got excited. And then that's when I was like, okay. And so they went from like 1 hour a week to now like 5-6 hours a week. They're doing a ton of brand building. And now they're on Zooms, as you've seen them on the Saturday Zooms and the Tuesday Zooms. And then what's interesting about it, it fuels their desires to give back. So they're doing both. They're building their brand and they're giving back and able to do, be go-givers. So
right. Really I think that's great. That's great because I think they are also enjoying the fact that people are bringing questions and that they can save their butts by telling them, no, you don't want to do that. And here's why. Or explaining that, go forward on this or go forward on that. It makes a lot of difference to know. And
they're spending so much time on one-on-one phone calls with Subto students behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. The idea was do the same thing you're already doing. Just do it in front of 200 people so everyone can get value. So you're not just giving that one person value. You're giving everybody value. So it worked out real well.
Right. So I am grateful that they did come even for a moment. That's really, really awesome of them. And I'm very grateful to you for elevating them because they've helped so many people and it's helped them and it's helped you and it will probably help me. You never know. So it's just a win-win-win with supporting the right kinds for sure. So that Airbnb finally got going, and I'm sure that Pace was happy that you did it. Can you talk to us a little bit about any deals where you felt you wish you hadn't got into them or that you learned the hard way?
I've lost so much money in this business. I mean, I've lost money, I've lost time. I've taken on so many bad deals that I've just been stuck with and had to figure out how to make them make money. And I've learned more from that than doing good deals. So I'll do it. Like, the ultimate bottom line is, can I lose everything I put into this deal and be okay? And if the answer is yes, then I'll do the deal. Like, can I accept the downside? Like, of course the upside's cool, but can I accept the downside? And if the answer is yes, I'll do it. And that has helped me a ton. Now, if I cannot accept the downside and it will destroy me, then I've never done a deal like that where the entire downside would destroy me.
So when you said you've lost money in the past, were you looking at it that way? Were you at that time, were you saying, I can afford to lose this if I lose it? Or did that come at a certain later?
The worst ones were so I haven't lost money per se, where it's gone forever. It's more like money's tied up here. Like, I haven't been able to, it's tied up for God knows how long. And, and the reality is, when I made the decision, okay, I can eat it. the worst deals that I've done where I'm like, okay, I'm going to tie up more money into this. I didn't estimate how much real money would need. So to keep it going, I had to put more and more money into it.
Yeah.
So those are some of the tough ones. Fortunately, those turned out to be like, they ended up being better because we figured out a different exit strategy with those, and we've turned them around to make money and pay us back in the long run. So it's good. So like, as far as like, I flipped a house and had to spend money selling it, I haven't done that. Fingers crossed I don't do that.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this subject too, and then I'm going to sell it, and then I can't sell it, I have to just hold that property and tie up money. That's like kind of, I see it as losing money, right? Because now I'm writing a check instead of getting a check, and I'm going to recoup that for a long time. So I've had that happen to me, and it's tough.
Yeah. And Nicole says that's what happened with her in her first property. Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us would, a lot of people in Subto, unless they come in with a lot of real estate experience, probably do run into that sort of thing. Right?
Well, sorry to interrupt you. The actual first deal I did lose all that money on was my first real estate mentorship, right? So that's gone. And there was no asset. Like, if I wish I spent 60 grand or on like a piece of real estate that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Yeah, that's for sure. So talk to us a little bit about the two types of wholesalers that you see, and two types of lenders, and two types of STR investors. Talk to us about this concept that you view.
So it just comes back to the two types of people.
Okay.
So there's people who ask for permission, and there's people who do business until they're stopped. They just do things until they're completely stopped. So did Abraham put you up to that question? Yeah, he did. That's so funny. There's two types of podcasts, right? There's two types of podcasts, right? There's a podcast where, Abraham Gray has an influence on the kinds of questions that's being asked, and there's a podcast that he doesn't.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh. Well, what about lenders? How do you see them as, taking as two types?
Oh, okay. So I think we need to have a little bit of context on this two types thing. Okay. So the context is this: Abraham had an event in Atlanta, and I was speaking at the event, and somebody asked me, they're like, Munif, what do you do? Like, this HOA on this house doesn't allow Airbnbs. What do you do, man? What do you do? And I was like, all right, man, like, look, I'm not a lawyer, right? So like, don't take this as legal advice, because I'm not a lawyer. I just do it anyways. I just do it, put on Airbnb anyways. And then Abraham was like in the back, like laughing, like he couldn't breathe. That guy was laughing so hard because I don't think he expected me to say that. And the guy who asked the question was just like, "What do you mean? Like, what? Like, aren't they going to stop you?" I'm like, maybe. I don't know. Like, they might stop, but they might not stop me. What if they don't stop? What if they don't catch on? What if I go a year? I have that Airbnb going for a year. How much money am I going to make for that whole year? Like, it might even just offset. Like, I could probably put it as a rental after that and like made all my money back, maybe, right? So maybe, like, what if they don't stop me?
Gotcha.
And then I said, like, there's two types of people. There's people who wait for all the rules to be perfect before they do something, or there are people who go and do stuff and then they're stopped. They do things until they're stopped. And but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not getting legal advice. Like, don't. Abraham loved it. He loved it. Every time we'd like see each other after that, he'd be like, "There's two types of people. There's two types of people." So when I was on his podcast, he was like telling me, he's like, "Hey, like, so I mean, how many kinds of lenders do you have? Oh, you have two types of lenders." And so he every time there was a subject, he'd add the two types of X. So there's no two types of wholesalers or two types of like, it's just a funny inside joke that now everyone.
Got it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Cool. And now, could you let our audience know how they could reach out to you?
Yeah, see my Instagram in the banner. Just DM me on Instagram or message me on Facebook, or I'll put my phone number in the chat. 4087. Maybe you can push that. I don't know if you see that.
And actually, I'm not sure if you want to put that out there forever. Is it something?
Yeah, that's fine. I trust
Oh,
me.
it's in the private chat? Okay.
Yeah, because I have people selling my data that I didn't ask them to. So I may as well give my number to people who I want.
Oh, that's so cute. All right, there you go. Give me 1 second. I think that I did it, but I don't know. Yeah, how about that? I did it.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
You just text me.
I am very, very appreciative. And guys, you should be reaching out to Munif. He's got a lot that he can offer, and he's very, very kind. And Abraham says, where is he?
There are two types of people that call their friends, people that have to wait for their friends to call them. Well, guess what? I'm the person that has to wait for Abraham to call me, because if you look at my history today, there's 2 outgoing calls. I don't know if you can see it on this, 2 outgoing calls to Abraham.
Oh, that's so
and they're both from me. So
that's so funny. Oh my God. Well, thank you, Abraham. I'm glad that you joined us. And now we know the inside joke and the 2 people. I am grateful. Any last minute words?
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to work with me and my partners, Chime Prakash, just reach out to us. Just shoot me a text. We're buying deals in Texas.
I would love to. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
I am talking to you and everybody else, because you're included. And so if you have a motivated lead that you need help with, we're buying houses under 300,000 in most Texas markets. We'll make some exceptions, but generally it's under 300,000. We're buying creative deals or cash deals. But if you want to partner with Abraham's awesome. He was on episode 1. You can actually partner with him. He's not necessarily going to buy the deal from you. He might, but he's more interested in partnering with you and funding the entire deal. So you can actually reach out to Abraham Gray if you're in Subto, and so he's doing that. And then you can actually buy. We sell deals too, so you can actually buy a deal from me and then partner with Pace and Abraham. So people can do that too. So
yeah, there are a lot of options available to Subto. I absolutely have to say that. Okay, well, I would like to say thank you, everyone, for coming to our program, and join me next week, as I should be able to tell you who I'm having, but for some reason, the paper, I got the technology, but the paper, it's upstairs.
You're the most tech savvy person I know. You're showing it what you've got going on.
Oh, I'm getting there. But join us next week, and I will let you know who we're having.
Alrighty.
All right, guys. I want to say thank you very much. Munif, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here. Graham, thank you. Everyone in our audience, thank you. And it's time for us to say goodbye. Now, hold on. I think I need to do something. Hold on. Wait for me. Here it comes.